The auctioneer's gavel slammed down with finality. Sold to the gentleman in the back for $5,000. Every head in the aircraft salvage yard turned to stare at Marcus Thompson, a weathered 52-year-old Marine veteran whose calloused hands trembled slightly as he raised his bidding paddle. The rusted cargo plane before him looked like a metal graveyard, paint peeling, engines seized, and what appeared to be bullet holes scarring its fuselage. "You've got to be kidding me," whispered Janet Morrison, a local scrap dealer who'd been eyeing the same lot. $5,000 for that flying coffin? That old soldier's finally lost it. Marcus ignored the snickers rippling through the crowd at Henderson Municipal Airport's monthly surplus auction. His German shepherd, Luna, pressed against his leg, her intelligent brown eyes scanning the crowd with the same wariness her master had learned in 3 tours overseas. The dog's ears perked forward, focused intently on the aircraft, as if she sensed something others couldn't. "Sir, you realize that plane hasn't flown since 1998? The auctioneer's voice carried a mix of concern and amusement. "Engines completely shot, avionics are fried, and frankly, it's probably worth more as scrap metal than anything else." Marcus stepped forward, his military bearing still evident despite the civilian clothes and graying temples. "I know exactly what I'm buying." His voice carried the quiet authority of someone who'd made life-or-death decisions under pressure. Luna trotted beside him, her nose working overtime as they approached the aircraft. The crowd began to disperse, but not before Marcus caught fragments of their conversations. "Poor guy probably thinks he can flip it for parts. Someone should check if he's having a breakdown. 5,000 down the drain." Bull. What they didn't know was that Marcus had been tracking this particular aircraft for 3 years, not because of its potential value, but because of a promise he'd made to his dying squad leader in a field hospital in Afghanistan. Staff Sergeant Rodriguez had gripped Marcus's hand with surprising strength for someone with shrapnel in his chest and whispered coordinates that led to this exact plane. As Marcus ran his hand along the aircraft's corroded exterior, Luna suddenly became agitated. Her tail went rigid, and she began pawing at a section of the fuselage near the cargo bay door. The metal here looked different, newer somehow despite the rust camouflaging it. "What is it, girl?" Marcus knelt beside his 4-legged partner, following her gaze. Luna had been trained for explosive detection during their time overseas, but she'd been retired for 2 years now. Her instincts, however, remained razor-sharp. The dog whined softly and scratched at what appeared to be a maintenance panel. Marcus pulled out his phone's flashlight and examined the area more closely. The rivets here were definitely newer than the surrounding metal, and there were faint tool marks suggesting recent work. "Excuse me, sir?" A young airport employee approached nervously. "I hate to bother you, but we're closing the yard for the day. You'll need to arrange transport for your purchase." Marcus stood slowly, his mind racing. "Who owned this plane before the auction?" Let me check." The employee consulted his clipboard. "Looks like it came from Meridian Air Freight. Company went bankrupt about 6 months ago. All their assets were liquidated." The name hit Marcus like a physical blow. Meridian Air Freight, the same company Rodriguez had mentioned in his final moments. The same company that had supposedly been running legitimate cargo operations between the Middle East and the United States. But Rodriguez suspected something far more sinister. Luna barked once, sharp and insistent, still focused on that section of the fuselage. Her behavior was identical to how she'd acted when they'd discovered hidden weapons caches overseas. Marcus's pulse quickened as pieces of a puzzle he'd been working on for years began to align. "I'll have a transport truck here first thing tomorrow morning," Marcus told the employee, never taking his eyes off the plane. "And I'll need to inspect my purchase thoroughly before moving it." As the sun set over the Nevada desert, casting long shadows across the salvage yard, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that he'd just purchased more than a broken-down aircraft. Luna's continued agitation suggested they'd stumbled onto something significant, something that people had died to keep hidden. The mockery of the auction crowd echoed in his mind, but Marcus had learned long ago that the most important discoveries often came disguised as failures. Tomorrow, he and Luna would begin the real investigation. Tonight, he'd prepare for whatever they might find inside that rusted metal shell. If you're enjoying this incredible story of mystery and discovery, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. You won't want to miss what Marcus and Luna uncover next. Drop a comment below with your theories about what's hidden in that plane. And don't forget to smash that like button to help this story reach more people who love real-life mysteries. Dawn broke across the Henderson salvage yard as Marcus arrived with a rented flatbed truck and a toolbox that had seen action in 3 war zones. Luna bounded from the passenger seat, immediately returning to the aircraft with the same focused intensity she'd shown the day before. The morning air carried the scent of motor oil and desert sage, but the dog's attention remained locked on that suspicious panel. "Easy, girl. We'll get our answers soon enough." Marcus approached the cargo plane methodically, photographing every detail before beginning his inspection. The aircraft was a modified Douglas DC-6, originally built for civilian transport, but clearly retrofitted for cargo operations. What struck him as odd were the reinforced floor mounts and the unusual electrical conduits running along the interior walls. Using a cordless drill, Marcus began removing the rivets from the panel Luna had identified. Each piece of metal that came away revealed more questions than answers. Behind the outer skin lay a sophisticated compartment clearly designed to be hidden from casual inspection. The space was lined with what appeared to be lead sheeting, the kind used to block radiation or X-ray detection. Luna's excitement grew as the compartment opened fully. Inside, Marcus discovered a waterproof case roughly the size of a briefcase, secured with military-grade locks. His hands shook slightly as he lifted it out. It was heavier than expected, suggesting dense contents. "What the hell were you guys transporting?" Marcus muttered, thinking of Rodriguez and the cryptic warnings his squad leader had shared during those final moments in the field hospital. The case bore no external markings except for a series of numbers etched into the metal, 77492 Alpha. Marcus recognized the format. It was a military asset tracking code, but not one from any standard inventory system he knew. Before attempting to open the case, Marcus decided to explore the rest of the aircraft more thoroughly. Luna's training had taught him that where there was one hidden compartment, there were often others. Sure enough, the dog's nose led them to 2 additional concealed spaces, one behind the cockpit's instrument panel and another beneath a section of cargo flooring. The second compartment contained documents wrapped in plastic, while the third held what appeared to be electronic equipment, sophisticated communication gear that looked far too advanced for a simple freight operation. The serial numbers had been filed off, but Marcus recognized the components as military-grade encryption devices. As he photographed everything methodically, Marcus's phone buzzed with an incoming call from an unknown number. He almost ignored it, but something made him answer. Marcus Thompson. The voice was female, professional, with a slight accent he couldn't place. "Who's asking?" "Someone who knew Staff Sergeant Rodriguez. Someone who's been waiting 3 years for you to find that plane." Marcus felt his blood run cold. Luna sensed his tension and moved closer, her body alert and ready. "How did you get this number?" "The same way I knew you'd eventually track down that aircraft." Rodriguez wasn't the only one who suspected what Meridian Air Freight was really doing. "My name is Dr. Sarah Chen, and I think you've just uncovered something that several people have died trying to expose." The line went quiet except for the sound of Marcus's own heartbeat. In the distance, he could hear traffic on the interstate, but the salvage yard felt suddenly isolated and vulnerable. "Dr. Chen, I don't know who you are or how you know about any of this, but I'm not discussing anything over an unsecured line. Smart military training serves you well, but Marcus, you need to understand, opening that case without proper precautions could be extremely dangerous, not just to you, but to everyone in a 50-mile radius. Luna suddenly stiffened, her ears rotating toward the yard's entrance. A black sedan was pulling through the gate, moving slowly as if the occupants were surveying the area. Marcus instinctively moved to put the aircraft between himself and the approaching vehicle. "Are you watching me right now?" Marcus asked into the phone. "No, but others might be." Meridian Air Freight had connections that went far beyond simple cargo transport. When that company went bankrupt, certain interested parties assumed all their assets had been properly sanitized. The sedan stopped about 50 yards away. Two men in dark suits emerged, both wearing sunglasses despite the early morning hour. They began walking toward the aircraft with the measured pace of people who were very sure of their authority. "I have to go," Marcus whispered into the phone. "Wait! The case! Whatever you do, don't open it without a Geiger counter. And Marcus, trust your dog. Her instincts may be the only thing keeping you alive right now." The line went dead just as the first man called out, "Excuse me, sir. Federal agents, we need to speak with you about your recent purchase." Marcus slipped the phone into his pocket and stepped out from behind the aircraft, keeping his hands visible but ready. Luna positioned herself at his side, her body language shifting into the alert stance she'd used during their military service. "Good morning, gentlemen. How can I help you?" The taller agent flashed a badge too quickly for Marcus to read the details. "Agent Williams, Department of Homeland Security. We understand you purchased this aircraft yesterday. We're going to need you to step away from it immediately." "On what grounds?" Marcus kept his voice steady, drawing on years of experience dealing with military bureaucracy. "National security. This aircraft may contain hazardous materials that pose a threat to public safety." Luna growled low in her throat, not at the agents, but toward the aircraft itself. She was trying to tell him something, and Marcus had learned to trust her instincts completely. "I'm afraid I'll need to see a warrant before I allow anyone else to inspect my legally purchased property," Marcus replied. The second agent stepped forward, his hand moving slightly toward his jacket. "Sir, this doesn't have to become complicated. We're prepared to compensate you for your purchase price plus a reasonable profit. All we need is your cooperation." But Marcus was no longer listening to their words. He was watching Luna, whose behavior had become increasingly agitated. The dog was now focused not on the hidden compartments they'd discovered, but on something else entirely. Something that was making her training kick in with an urgency he hadn't seen since their last deployment. Whatever was in that case, and whatever these men really wanted, Marcus realized he'd stumbled into something far more dangerous than a simple military surplus purchase. The question was whether he and Luna could figure out the truth before it was too late. "First block complete. Please confirm with OK or continue to proceed with the remaining 2 chapters where the shocking truth is revealed." Marcus's military instincts kicked in as he assessed the situation. 2 alleged federal agents, no visible backup, and Luna's behavior suggesting immediate danger. Something wasn't adding up. "Gentlemen, I'm going to need to verify your credentials through proper channels before we proceed." Agent Williams exchanged a glance with his partner that lasted a fraction too long. In that moment, Marcus caught something that made his blood freeze. A small tattoo on Williams's wrist, partially hidden by his sleeve. It was a symbol he'd seen before, carved into a cave wall in Afghanistan, where his unit had discovered a weapons cache. Rodriguez had photographed that symbol before they'd been ambushed. "Sir, time is of the essence here," the second agent pressed. "Every moment that aircraft remains unsecured increases the potential risk to civilian populations." Luna suddenly bolted toward the cargo plane, barking frantically at a section of the fuselage they hadn't yet examined. Her training was screaming danger, but not from radiation or chemicals, from explosives. Marcus realized with growing horror that someone had rigged the aircraft, probably triggered remotely. "Everyone needs to move back now," Marcus shouted, sprinting after Luna. The dog had found something near the landing gear, a small device that definitely hadn't been there during yesterday's auction. The two agents drew weapons simultaneously, confirming Marcus's suspicions that they weren't federal law enforcement. "Step away from the aircraft, Thompson. You've seen enough." But Marcus was already moving, using the plane's bulk as cover while pulling out his phone to call 911. Luna continued barking at the device, which Marcus could now see was a sophisticated timer mechanism attached to what looked like military-grade explosives. "You have 30 seconds to get clear," Williams called out. "After that, this problem solves itself, and you become collateral damage." Marcus's mind raced through possibilities. The device Luna had found wasn't just meant to destroy evidence. It was designed to eliminate anyone who might have discovered the aircraft's secrets. These men had been watching, waiting for someone to claim the plane so they could tie up loose ends permanently. "Luna, come," Marcus commanded, but the dog refused to leave her position. She'd found something else. Another hidden compartment, this one containing what appeared to be a radiation detector that was clicking rapidly. Whatever was in that locked case wasn't just dangerous, it was actively radioactive. The pieces suddenly clicked together in Marcus's mind. Meridian Air Freight hadn't been smuggling drugs or weapons, they'd been transporting nuclear material. The lead-lined compartments, the sophisticated security measures, Rodriguez's dying warnings about coordinates, it all pointed to a black market operation dealing in the most dangerous substances on Earth. "You idiots have no idea what you're playing with," Marcus shouted to the fake agents. "That case contains radioactive material. If your bomb goes off, you'll contaminate half of Nevada." Williams hesitated for the first time, uncertainty flickering across his face. "You're lying. Our intelligence said the cargo was neutralized months ago." "Your intelligence was wrong." Marcus pulled out the Geiger counter app on his phone, holding it toward the aircraft. The clicking sound was audible even from 20 feet away. "Luna's been trained to detect nuclear materials. That's why she's been going crazy since yesterday." The second agent was speaking rapidly into a radio, clearly receiving new instructions. Marcus caught fragments. "Possible hot cargo. Abort detonation. Containment protocol." Luna suddenly ran toward Marcus, her training telling her to evacuate the area immediately. The radiation levels were climbing, suggesting that whatever was in that case was becoming unstable. Marcus realized they might be dealing with a dirty bomb component or weapons-grade plutonium that had been abandoned when Meridian went bankrupt. "Dr. Chen was right," Marcus muttered, remembering the mysterious phone call. Someone had been tracking this material, trying to prevent it from falling into the wrong hands. The fake federal agents weren't trying to secure dangerous cargo. They were trying to eliminate evidence of their own criminal operation. His phone buzzed with a text from the same unknown number. "Local FBI en route. Keep the case sealed and get everyone back 500 yards. Material is weapons-grade uranium stolen from a Pakistani facility in 2019. And Marcus looked up to see genuine federal vehicles approaching. Multiple SUVs with proper government plates and uniformed agents deploying with radiation detection equipment. The fake agents were already retreating toward their sedan, realizing their window of opportunity had closed. "This isn't over, Thompson," Williams called out as they reached their vehicle. "You have no idea what forces you're dealing with." But Marcus wasn't listening anymore. He was focused on Luna, who had finally left her post near the aircraft and was pressing against his leg, seeking comfort after prolonged exposure to danger. The real federal agents were establishing a perimeter, their equipment confirming what Luna's training had detected. The aircraft contained enough radioactive material to build a dirty bomb capable of devastating a major city. As hazmat teams began their careful approach to the plane, Marcus realized that his $5,000 purchase had prevented a potential terrorist attack. The criminals had planned to retrieve the material under cover of the explosion, making it look like an accidental detonation during salvage operations. Instead, Luna's keen senses and Rodriguez's dying message had exposed an international smuggling ring. Agent Sarah Chen emerged from one of the federal vehicles, finally revealing herself as an undercover nuclear security specialist who'd been tracking this material for 3 years. "Mr. Thompson, your instincts and your dog's training may have just saved thousands of lives." Marcus looked down at Luna, who was finally relaxing as the immediate danger passed. "Just doing our job, ma'am. Same as always." A dirty, but even as the situation stabilized, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The fake agents had mentioned forces he didn't understand, and their escape suggested this criminal network had resources and connections that went far beyond a simple smuggling operation. 3 weeks later, Marcus sat in a secure conference room at Nellis Air Force Base, Luna resting at his feet as FBI Director Patricia Hayes briefed him on the full scope of what they'd uncovered. The case from the aircraft had contained 12 pounds of weapons-grade uranium-235, enough to construct multiple dirty bombs or contribute to a nuclear weapon. The Meridian air freight operation was more sophisticated than we initially realized, Director Hayes explained, sliding photographs across the table. They were part of an international network smuggling nuclear materials from decommissioned Soviet facilities and selling them to the highest bidder. Marcus studied the images, shipping manifests, financial records, and surveillance photos of individuals he didn't recognize. What about Rodriguez? How did he know about this? Dr. Sarah Chen, who had been working undercover for 3 years, leaned forward. Staff Sergeant Rodriguez stumbled onto their operation during a routine convoy escort in Afghanistan. Meridian was using military transport contracts as cover for their smuggling activities. When Rodriguez started asking questions, they arranged for his unit to be ambushed. The weight of that revelation hit Marcus like a physical blow. His squad leader hadn't died in a random attack. He'd been murdered for getting too close to the truth. How many others knew? Rodriguez was careful. He only shared the coordinates with you because he trusted your integrity and knew you'd follow through if something happened to him. Chen pulled out a tablet showing a world map with red dots marking various locations. These represent other Meridian operations we've now identified, thanks to the intelligence you recovered. Director Hayes continued the briefing. The uranium you found was stolen from a Pakistani research facility in 2019. It was being stored in that aircraft while the network arranged buyers. When Meridian went bankrupt, the material was essentially abandoned until you purchased the plane. Marcus looked down at Luna, who had been quietly receiving attention from the federal agents throughout the meeting. What happens now? The immediate threat has been neutralized, Hayes replied, but we've identified at least 6 other aircraft that may contain similar materials. We're going to need your help tracking them down. Chen activated her tablet, showing satellite imagery of various airports and salvage yards across the country. Your military experience and Luna's detection capabilities make you uniquely qualified for this mission. We're prepared to offer you a consulting contract with the Nuclear Security Administration. Marcus considered the offer carefully. After years of struggling to find purpose in civilian life, the opportunity to continue serving his country while honoring Rodriguez's memory was appealing. But the personal cost couldn't be ignored. The fake federal agents had made it clear that this criminal network had long reach and few scruples about eliminating threats. There's something else you should know, Chen added quietly. The men who confronted you at the salvage yard weren't just hired muscle. Agent Williams, whose real name is Viktor Kozlov, is a former Russian intelligence operative. His partner, David Park, has connections to North Korean weapons programs. This network has state-level backing. The implications were staggering. Marcus had stumbled into an international conspiracy involving nuclear terrorism, and his $5,000 impulse purchase had exposed operations that threatened global security. Luna's training had literally prevented weapons-grade uranium from reaching terrorist organizations. "What about the other people at the auction?" Marcus asked. "Are they safe?" "We've placed everyone who was present under protective surveillance," Hayes assured him. "The network doesn't know how much you've discovered, so they're likely to assume the worst and try to eliminate all potential witnesses." Marcus made his decision. "I'm in. Rodriguez died trying to stop these people. Luna and I will finish what he started." Over the following months, Marcus and Luna became an unlikely team of nuclear detectives, traveling across the country to investigate suspicious aircraft sales and cargo operations. Their success rate was remarkable. Luna's nose could detect trace amounts of radioactive material that even sophisticated equipment might miss, while Marcus's military experience helped him recognize the operational patterns that smugglers used. They discovered 3 more aircraft containing nuclear materials, exposed a shipping company that was transporting enriched uranium in modified cargo containers, and helped federal agents arrest 17 members of the international smuggling network. Each success brought them closer to dismantling the entire operation. But their most significant discovery came 6 months after the original incident, when Luna detected something unusual at a private airfield in Montana. Hidden beneath the floor of an apparently abandoned hangar, they found detailed plans for attacks on major American cities, along with enough radioactive material to contaminate downtown areas of New York, Los Angeles, and Washington, D.C. The network had been planning coordinated dirty bomb attacks designed to cripple the American economy and create mass panic. Marcus's accidental purchase of that rusted cargo plane had unraveled a plot that could have killed thousands and changed the course of history. As Marcus stood in the Montana hangar, watching federal agents carefully remove the last of the dangerous materials, he thought about the mockery he'd endured at that auction. Those people had seen a foolish veteran wasting money on junk. They couldn't have imagined that his worthless purchase would save countless lives and expose one of the most dangerous criminal conspiracies in modern history. Luna pressed against his leg, her job complete, but her loyalty unwavering. Together, they had honored Rodriguez's memory and protected their country from an unthinkable threat. The $5,000 had been the best investment Marcus had ever made, not because of any financial return, but because it had given him the chance to serve his country one more time. Director Hayes approached as the last of the evidence was loaded into secure transport vehicles. "Marcus, I want you to know that your actions have prevented what could have been the worst terrorist attack in American history. The President wants to meet you and Luna personally." Marcus smiled, scratching Luna behind the ears. "Just doing our job, Ma'am, same as Rodriguez would have wanted." But as they walked toward their vehicle, Marcus couldn't help but wonder how many other secrets were hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone brave enough or foolish enough to look beyond the surface and discover the truth. The story of the veteran and his dog who saved America had only just begun. This incredible true story shows us that heroes come in the most unexpected forms. Sometimes it's a mocked veteran and his loyal dog who end up saving thousands of lives. If this story gave you chills and made you believe in the power of never giving up, smash that subscribe button right now and hit the bell icon so you never miss another incredible story like this one. Drop a comment below telling us about a time when someone underestimated you. We read every single comment and love hearing your stories. And don't forget to absolutely demolish that like button to help us share these amazing stories with more people who need to hear them. Your support helps us bring you more incredible tales of courage, determination, and unexpected heroes. What other unbelievable true stories would you like us to cover next? Let us know in the comments. Your suggestions might become our next viral video.